Have you ever stopped to think about how one tiny change in our planet's past could have created a world we wouldn't even recognize? Well, today we're going to dive into a pretty chilling alternate reality, a world that's been locked in eternal ice.
So just imagine for a second, that great thaw, the one that gave us our world. What if it just never happened? The glaciers never pulled back, the warmth that kickstarted our entire civilization never showed up. What kind of planet would we be living on right now?
Okay, so to really wrap our heads around this frozen Earth, we've got to go back in time to the exact moment our timeline split, the fork in the road that separates our reality from this icy one forever.
Right, let's get our bearings. For millions of years, Earth was deep in the Pleistocene, the Great Ice Age. And this wasn't just some long, chilly winter. It was pretty much the planet's default setting. This warm, comfy world we're living in, that's actually the strange part. That's the anomaly.
And you can see that fork in the road right here. In our world, about 11,700 years ago, things started to heat up and fast. But in the world we're imagining today, nope, that warming just fizzles out. The timeline keeps on going straight into a future of eternal ice. So in our reality, a kind of perfect storm of cosmic and planetary events brought the Ice Age to a close. You had these subtle wobbles in Earth's orbit, they're called Milankovitch cycles, and they started the whole warming trend. Then rising CO2 and changing ocean currents just supercharged the whole thing, basically flipping the switch on a global heating system. But what if they didn't work? What if those orbital cycles were just a little too weak? The CO2 stays trapped, and those massive ice sheets, which are like giant mirrors reflecting sunlight right back into space, they keep the planet locked in a permanent deep freeze. So, what does a planet look like when it's just permanently stuck in an ice age? Well, the consequences are absolutely staggering, and it all starts with the map of the world itself. I mean, just look at the difference here. Sea levels are down by 120 meters. That's nearly 400 feet. Can you imagine? Places like London or New York City would be buried under a mile of solid ice. The coastlines we know would be hundreds of miles further out. And beautiful things like coral reefs, they never even get a chance to exist. An average temperature drop of 8 to 10 degrees Celsius. Now, that might not sound like a huge number, right? But on a global scale, it's completely world-altering. It's the difference between a planet that can support farms and empires and a planet that, well, mostly just supports ice. And this isn't just a colder world. It's a way more violent one. Picture hurricane-force winds. They're called katabatic winds, just screaming off those massive glaciers all day, every day. Land bridges that once connected continents are now permanent open highways. And the centers of the continents, they turn into huge frozen deserts. Okay, so a different planet means different life. When the world is stuck in a deep freeze, the entire rulebook for evolution gets a major rewrite. How would everything, animals, plants, even us, actually adapt? Well, for one group of critters, this frozen world is an absolute paradise. All those iconic Ice Age giants, the woolly mammoths, the saber-toothed cats, those huge ground softs, they never go extinct. In our timeline, the warming climate destroyed their habitat. But here, they just keep on ruling this frozen planet. And, evolution has a pretty predictable game plan for cold weather. There's this biological principle called Allen's rule, and you'd see it everywhere. Animals start to evolve these more compact bodies, shorter legs, smaller ears, anything to hang on to every last little bit of precious body heat. Survival in this world really boils down to one thing: staying warm. We're talking thick, shaggy fur, bigger body sizes to retain heat, and even some incredible biological hacks like natural antifreeze proteins in the blood that would literally stop their cells from freezing solid. But what about us? With the entire planet transformed, humanity itself would have to change. We'd have to change biologically and culturally just to have a shot at survival. Our own bodies would have to adapt. We'd probably evolve to have more body fat for insulation, a much better natural tolerance for the cold, and even little physical tweaks like narrower noses, which is actually a brilliant way to warm up that freezing air before it hits your lungs. But biology alone isn't going to cut it. In this world, technology is everything, and humanity's single greatest invention, it wouldn't be the wheel or writing. It would be clothing. Complex, layered clothing made from animal hides would literally be the only thing standing between a small tribe and total extinction. And this is the devastating domino effect of it all.
Without a stable, warm climate, you can forget about agriculture. It's just impossible. Without agriculture, you don't get a food surplus. And if you don't have extra food, you get no cities, no one can specialize in different jobs, and you certainly get no empires. The entire foundation of what we call civilization never even gets built. Just think about that. Everything we consider to be history, it just evaporates. Those incredible civilizations of Mesopotamia and Egypt, gone. The Bronze Age? It never happens. History itself isn't written down in books. It's passed down through stories, told around a flickering fire from one generation to the next. This all leads us to the ultimate consequence, the biggest what if. What does it actually mean for humanity to live in a world where the very idea of progress might not even exist? This right here is probably the most profound shift of all. Our entire civilization is built on the idea of progress, the belief that tomorrow can be better than today. But in this ice world, the goal isn't building a better future, it's just making it through the next winter. Humanity's entire focus shifts from progress to pure, raw survival. So what about our ultimate ambition? Reaching for the stars. Forget about it. You're not going to have an industrial revolution when all the resources are buried under miles of ice. Without that giant technological leap, humanity is forever stuck here on Earth, a species trapped between a ceiling of ice and a sky they can never, ever reach. Which brings us to this really powerful final thought. Humans would exist, for sure. We would be resilient, we'd be tough, we would be resourceful, but we'd just be one more part of the ecosystem, not its master. In the end, if the Ice Age had never ended, the Earth wouldn't belong to us. It would belong to the ice. It would be a wilder, more ancient, and a far more unforgiving planet. And it's a stark reminder of just how much our own world really depends on a little bit of warmth.